We'll just start from hearing it, so it'll feel like that we're naturally. Oh, we're recording. Cool. Ibs, I'll let you.
Yeah.
I'll let you bless us.
Alright, come. Alright, assalamu alaikum, people. Back with Jollof after Jummah. This is episode 50.
Yeah, it's 50.
Episode 50.
Oh, 50.
You're special. Big special.
Episode 50.
Before we bring our number one fan to celebrate with us.
Yeah, different location today, and obviously we have a guest who I'll let introduce himself in a moment. We did a poll a couple of days back on Instagram. We asked people what they wanted to hear from us on the podcast. Basically, we've taken note of everything. So jazakallah khair for your feedback. Obviously, I'm not gonna say we won't discuss everything. We will discuss them, but for some of the topics, they're quite big topics. So we are looking for proper guests so that we can do those topics justice in it. Inshallah, at some point we will discuss everything that we've been asked to talk about. But yeah, inshallah.
Do you want to give a flavour of the type of things that?
Obviously the usual one, the M word was there as usual.
That didn't take long.
How long has it been?
Yeah, exactly. We had polygamy, which is obviously something we wanted to talk about.
We've been teasing that one for like a year.
Teasing for a while. Someone mentioned mental health comes up quite a bit. So inshallah, like I said, that's another topic that we want to do justice to. So we're looking for the right guest to have a conversation about that.
So we can do it from the medical and Islamic point of view as well.
Yeah. Someone mentioned, I think it was have the importance of having an identity. So in terms of the deen and in terms of like with your family and like your professional life as well. So the importance of that, which is interesting. So yeah, those were a couple of the topics. There was one other that was mentioned. I cannot remember now.
Why are you a Muslim type of like?
That was part of the identity thing, innit? So yeah, but like I said, inshallah, at some point we will have a discussion about all of those topics. But yeah, on to today's episode. Like I said, we have a guest. So
before that, obviously, it's episode 50 now.
Yeah.
So any of you people that are listening on Apple or whatever that you haven't left a review or some sort of feedback, now it's 50 episodes. I think we've earned something, some sort of, obviously we don't charge you yet.
Yeah.
So I think we've earned, a young review on Spotify. I don't know if you can do it on Spotify, but I know on Apple you definitely can.
Yeah.
So
I actually don't know how to do it on leave a review on Spotify. I listen to you guys through Spotify. I don't
think you can.
Okay, but you can do it on Apple.
You can do it on Apple. Yeah.
Or you can rate the episode or whatever. Give us something, just something. That's all we need. Obviously, follow if you're not following on Apple or Spotify, YouTube. If you're not subscribed to us, then maybe you hate us. I don't know. Maybe,
I'm definitely subscribed. Even I listen to the audio, but I'm subscribed to you.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't
drop
know.
a like as well. All of that.
Maybe you said salam. I didn't hear you on the road and you hate me. I don't know, but I'm sorry. Please subscribe, because there's no way that the anyone should be listening that's not subscribed, that's not liking the video as well. If you're logged in, we all have YouTube accounts now. It's not 2010, so so we're probably logged in. So just click on that button. It helps us a lot. Let's let the pod grow. Let more people see it, and then you'll get better content, inshallah. So we can establish ourselves. So now when I'm DMing these blue tech people, that they'll listen to me. They won't think I'm just some any guy. Please, Joe. But yeah. So yeah, make sure let's do that housekeeping now, because we do it at the end sometimes, and me, I don't really make it to the end of many videos. So. Not that you shouldn't be listening to the end of Judge, but yeah. Sorry, Ibs, you can continue.
Yeah.
Oh, our guest. Sorry.
That's true.
Over to me.
Over to you.
So assalamu alaikum lads. My name's Ridwan. I was actually thinking of like a way I could introduce myself just a bit different. The way we
should have dropped a four bar.
Like one of the mandem, but sometimes like the simplest like explanation is the easiest. Like I'm just one of the mandem that came out of that masjid, out of that, the academy, out of that institution.
The Academy of Man.
Like, trust me, brother, like just that churned out so many good brothers, not once, not twice, not 10, like over and over again,
100%.
I was thinking, you've had Brother Nudin on the episode a couple of times. I was thinking like I've known him probably my whole life. I was thinking, when was he not a leader?
Jeez.
when was he not, you know, sort of occupying that position, always sort of leading us, you know, from the beginning. And there's so many brothers like that as well. You know, you've got, he was probably more exuberant of us, but you've got brothers like AbdulRahman, probably more introverted like myself, but don't get it twisted, he's just as effective, you know. You've got brother Abdul, you know, and then just so many other brothers that we've got around us that alhamdulillah I was just able to come out that masjid. Obviously you have the sisters as well, but obviously I can't really speak for them. It's just us, man, that's able to come out of that masjid.
Shout out them as well.
I'm just one of them as well that came out of there.
He's not doing himself justice. This is my older brother, by the way.
In case you didn't notice.
And just as a leader, like you said, the other ones, not just a leader of the brothers, but a leader of, like, obviously me personally, I can say a leader of a household as well. I can say that this is my older brother, big, like, probably one of my main role models that I look up to, because it's like, it's not always the people in your life or your older brothers that are gonna be the example of someone you look to like be a man in every kind of walk of your life, and this is someone that is that for me. So alhamdulillah, I can only say alhamdulillah for that.
That is beautiful, man. That is beautiful. I just need a tissue. Can you bring me tissue, please? I'm just gonna cry. That is fantastic,
alhamdulillah, man.
Do you need a minute?
No, I'm good. We'll move on to you, dislocator.
Obviously, Simon, I've got one. So basically, obviously, it was on a move, innit? Honestly, on the op block. No, joking. It's, to be honest, the story it's not amazing, but you know, I've recently relaunched my football career. So you know, joined the Saturday team. It's going well, alhamdulillah. Obviously, for those that don't know, I'm a number 9 in it. That's my actual position.
Right.
I'm a striker.
Where were you on the pitch?
But I also do a very good job in goal. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with being good at two things, innit? Do you know what I mean?
That's what I knew you guys for.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. So man, I'm a top striker. I score goals, innit? Ibs can vouch. I score goals. I can score. But
he does a shift.
But my original position, when I was a child, and that was I was a goalie. You know, Mill up to 11 when they dropped me. You know, because they said I was too small. So eventually, I did a season and a half. Yeah. And they said I wasn't gonna grow, so they didn't put me to the 12s. Even though I was the best keeper, but that's another story. Shout out them. Wait, man, it's racist, isn't it? Racism. The coach's son was probably the keeper that day, anyway. And yeah, man. So I joined the team. Obviously, I want to play outfield for the team, but it's very difficult to get in the starting 11, and it's only 14 people in the squad, matchday squad. So it's based on consistency and it's an established team. So you know, the goalie angle is the best way to get in, because it means that so they'll see your face. Exactly. So I played a couple of games, had my debut 3 weeks ago. Washout, rain, like as in, I don't even remember. It was 3 Saturdays ago, I think, and it was just raining, washout all day. And it was in Chiswick in some big open field. I got 45-year-old Bert and Ernie trying to elbow your head in. So it was a bit of a shaky one. And obviously, when you're being a goalie in goals when no one's allowed in your box, it's very different from them stepping on your toes trying to. So a bit of a higgy debut, but it was alright. No mistakes leading to any goals, but it was just shaky. Yesterday, alhamdulillah, everything going smooth. 2-0 up. Couple good saves, like, you know, like keep momentum, stopping saves. You know, everything going well. And they had a corner. Someone headed it out. They had a shot. I dive, obviously tip it around the corner. But I've landed like on my armpit, all my weight. So all I heard was like what I heard was
dislocation.
And I'm on the floor. Everyone's like, "Wow, sick, Malik, well done, you tap me on the shoulder." I'm thinking, and my shoulders hanging to the side. Like, physio runs on. He said he saw it from far. He runs and he pops it back in. But
did that hurt when he did that as well?
Yeah, it made it so much better. Like the pain was 11 out of 10 before he popped it back in. When he popped it back in, it went to like 5, but then it increased again. But that relief from it being popped back in, that was, I think people that take drugs, that's what it must be like. that feeling of, okay, my arm is, I'm not gonna die. And then, but yeah, I went to A&E, spent my whole day in A&E, and they said,
I'm surprised they even saw you. Like this happened to you yesterday, and you're in a sling today.
Obviously,
the way things are.
Certain man, you know, because of A&Es and that?
Yeah, it's just so difficult
it's long.
down there.
I was there for 4 hours.
I think that's okay.
Yeah, it's alright. 4 hours before my X-ray, and they know me.
You got an X-ray as well.
Yeah.
So did you go to work?
I went to the hospital I work in, yeah.
Okay, so
But no, it didn't help me that much, but I think it helped me, especially the x-ray helped me because I knew the person that did the bandages.
yeah,
And then they'll call me, I don't know what the full damage is because the doctor hasn't reviewed it yet. It was the nurse practitioner who's like, they have to give it to the specialist to see what going on. So they'll call me Monday to Wednesday. Inshallah, next time you see me, I still have an arm. But for now, it's here. It's useless. I'm a cripple, but you know. But you know, alhamdulillah. But being on a level, even creaming, doing wudu, everything, like just...
Yeah, it's just extra.
It is, you know, like little things that remind you how life...
Yeah.
Because this one hand thing is it's long, man.
Yeah, so you can...
Even just washing...
Yeah.
you know, wiping your bum, it's not easy. And it's the left. I was like, alhamdulillah, it's the right. If it was the right, it would be even worse. But the left, there's certain functionalities as Muslims we're meant to do with our left that are quite difficult now. But you know.
So are you in pain now? Or what's it like?
If I move quickly, if long as my arm, like, you know, my armpit stays closed, like if my elbow is attached to my body, I'm alright. Anything outside of that, it's pain. Yeah. And it's sharp, but
sharp pains. That's what I was described as. All this breaking arm stuff. I've never done it. You know.
I've never.
Breaking arms, breaking
I know people
legs.
saying I always get injured. I get injuries. I've broken both my legs, but that was a car just hit me when I was little. I generally don't really get too many big like this type of A&E type injury. This is the first time it happened. That's why I think it was weird. That's why my brain wasn't computing what was going on.
Never.
I mean, we've always been quite fortunate that, you know, you've just never had any of these sort of injuries where having to be in a sling or
was you beat severely when you was young? Did your bones get strength from that?
Obviously, we've all been Nigerian, innit?
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. You lot have been through the training. Yeah, you know me and my soft European bones, innit? So, alhamdulillah, anyway, you know, going strong. Don't tell the missus, but I'll be back in 4 weeks. She's like, yes, you have to rest now. She was alhamdulillah, though.
So yeah, one of the things we kind of wanted to discuss today, I think this is something that you mentioned actually as well. I think just kind of like getting into careers a little bit. Yeah. Because obviously I know that you're quite career driven, and that's something that you've helped me with quite a bit of like my career. I mean, the reason
me too.
Yeah, the reason I did audiology was because that's the direction that you pushed me in. So
really?
Yeah, because I wanted to do pharmacy. You told me not to. And then you pushed me to.
Why didn't you tell me?
I wanted to do pharmacy. You told me not to.
I don't even remember that.
It's these little things like that. You pushed me towards audiology, optometry, and radiography. And it was audiology that interested me the most.
Yeah. It's good you didn't pick radiography.
Yeah, because it's sort of, it won't be there for long, isn't it? You can tell. Yeah.
It's just Yeah. They're being taken over by machines.
Machines. Yeah.
So. Talk to us a little bit about, I guess, your career, how you, just kind of things you learned through uni and stuff. Because I know obviously you're in a different place to where you were when you came out of uni, and so
I think, to be honest with you, a lot of it starts from, and it all sort of go back to the masjid as well. It comes from our parents. Yeah. You know, one thing Mum always used to say to us, and also I didn't quite understand at the time, but just make sure you're a graduate, you know, you can do whatever you want after that, you know, be professional, you know. And at the time, obviously, you don't understand it. I actually wanted to do medicine at first, but I didn't get the grades. And then so I went to Brighton, and then the plan was initially to get the grades and you can transfer over. But then I realised, you know, going to school for the next 6 years, I'm not too sure about it. Pharmacy, at the time, this was back in 2011, 2012.
It was popping then.
It was popping back then, you know. But by the time I left, I could see
the decline,
and also the fact that I also had the opportunity to work in Boots. So I could specifically see what I'm going to end up doing in the community pharmacy. So I could see as time goes on, I'm getting additional responsibilities. I'm not sure if I can do this. So, but obviously, doing the pharmacy course and going through the motions of the lectures, there's other things you're learning as well. I think I said in a group chat once that you're learning to be a scientist. And I think that quite suited me because I'm a person that always asks why. Why is this happening? Why is it happening? And I think that's what's kind of suited me now in the career I'm doing that I'll come on to later. But with pharmacy, Yeah, it was a good opportunity. I liked talking to patients. I liked diagnosing sort of cough and cold remedies that we have. I didn't have the opportunity to work in hospital like you did, but yeah, it was a good chance for me to as I said, work with patients, work with other people, work on my clinical diagnosis as well. But as I said, I could see where it was going. So if I had the opportunity to talk to other people about it, I'd probably advise them not to go down that path. So if I understood the audiology coming onto you, I knew that audiology at the time was something that it was quite low key. A lot of people weren't in it, and it wasn't as long as our course.
Yeah.
I think it's 5 years now, isn't it?
Basically, yeah.
5 years.
Before you're qualified, 5 years.
Before you qualify, it's 4 years, and then 5 years to do your pre-reg, and then before you qualify for the pharmacy exam. But with you can do that anywhere in the world. You know, you finish uni, you work straight. I think you're even working.
Yeah.
Were you working while you were in school?
Placement, like training.
You're doing
so I was basically learning on the job, basically.
Learning on the job, yeah. So we had that, but for example, in my school, we had that for maybe like 2 weeks out of the whole year.
It's placement integration with like actually
the actual practice
in
wasn't
real
really
life,
good. You know, it wasn't really good. Whereas with you, I knew that they were doing it while you were in school. They teach you on the job. Whereas we didn't have that. So the gulf between finally going between lectures for 40 hours a week and then having to work 40 hours a week, it's a big adjustment. You know, some people, they're still babies when they leave uni. You know, how much do you really learn? It's
a baby course, yeah.
You know,
you're not.
How much you really learn leaving university. You go in at 18, you leave at 21, 22, 23. You go to the workplace having to deal with adults, deal with different people, and
you're not prepped for it.
You're not prepped for it at all.
Yeah,
a lot of people go into becoming a manager as well.
Yeah.
As soon as you leave uni, the child, you go into a job where you're the head of the building.
Having to deal with things that maybe sometimes it didn't prepare you for in university at all.
Yeah. I think that was a one kind of big benefit to my course, and it definitely benefited me as a student because like over the 3 years we did placement. So first year was 10 weeks. We did 10 weeks of placement in first year of uni. Second year was 10 weeks, second year was 15 weeks. Third year was 25 weeks.
Gradual,
That's gradual. That's good. So, and for me as a student, like looking back now, like my first year and maybe like 3/4 of my second year of placement, I was a kid, mad immature, very immature, and if I had dived straight in from third year of uni into a workplace, I would have suffered. I would have suffered 100% because from that I could, number one, I had to learn to navigate different people, and I learned the hard way because like especially because it was within the NHS. For people that work in the NHS, you'll know that it's a little bit clicky. There's like clicks in it, and I really had to adjust myself to kind of fit in. So I wouldn't say I fully fit in to that kind of NHS until like my third year of uni. So like first year, I was kind of the person that just wanted to come in, be left to my own devices, do my job, but you can't do that. You cannot do that. You can't. So like people that get on with the
people
stuff,
suffer for that.
Man. Like just it's over my career, I've had the opportunity to learn so much, but I've been fortunate because the mistakes I've made, it hasn't been in peak situations, and I think I'm always going to come back to the masjid in it because like the little skills that we learned, like back from like our, you know, it was like Brother Fadlu's set and then Brother Nudin set, then I'll say, you know, for example, the Shura committee, you know, having to deal with different people, you know, having to learn to talk to people. When it comes to organising camp, talking to different vendors, talking to different people, you know, when it comes to getting money from the executive to go to a different location, you know, the way you have to talk to them. Bro, these are skills that we need to learn, that we need on our CV right now, you know, and you don't realise that you're learning that game back then, you know. But going back to the mistakes I made, obviously I was like that as well in my first role that I had. I thought, well, this is when I finally got into the pharmaceutical industry. I thought, right, I've hit the belly. I'm in my place. I can do this for the next 25 years. But then when I got there, I realized, okay, I actually want to do something else. And while my job was quite customer facing, and my customers were my other colleagues from different teams, because that's we service different teams from other departments, for like the US team, the EU team, the UK team, and maybe like some other like rest of world teams as well. They knew me, but when it comes to moving to other teams, okay, what do we actually know about you though? This is because I just used to do my job and just go home.
Yeah.
When it came to doing stuff like the social committee, I wasn't interested. You know, when it came to maybe like extracurricular activities, I wasn't interested. Like these are ways that you build. These are ways that you actually build your brand. You need to be. You need to do that sort of stuff. You know, and that's something that I had to learn the hard way. I thought when I'm applying for these roles, and they can see that I clearly have the clinical knowledge. I know how to apply myself. This is stuff that I read in my own time, and they can see that I know it because the stuff I wanted to learn about, it had nothing to do with my role. But I'm taking the time to read it. But that wasn't their issue. It was the issue is the fact that, okay,
You're a mystery man.
yeah, you're a mystery. What do we actually know about you? And that was a big problem for them. And it took me having to leave to realize, okay, that's why you man didn't like me back then. Because there's some of the things that I weren't doing back then, I decided to implement in my new place of work. So yeah, it's never just about how much you know. Who you know is so important as well.
And in some of these kind of medical fields, you will find that the world is that kind of world is very small.
100%.
So like for example, like
100%.
like with audiology is a very, very small world.
Yeah.
And that will be because like for example, when I was applying, there were only 5 unis in the country that were doing the course. And when I was graduated, I only graduated with like 10 or 11 other people.
Yeah.
So all of those 10 or 11 people will go somewhere within this audiology world, and you never know, like you might be applying for a role with someone that you went to uni with, and they will just ask, you went to uni with him, what was he like when you were in uni? And that can determine whether you even get an interview. Just little things like, because if they don't have something nice to say about you, why are we going to interview you?
That actually happened. So the place, I've actually started a new job recently. I'll come on to that in a minute. Yeah, I'll come on to that in a minute. The place where I was before was a company called Icon, and my manager came to me and said, "Oh, I saw that you worked with a person back here at this time," and she said, "What was he like?" And that's what she wanted to know. I've been asked that as well. Yeah. She didn't even want to know whether he's competent enough to do the job. Would you work with him again? Was her main issue. And I said, yeah, like obviously he can be a bit quiet, but once he's out of his shell, he's very nice to work with. He just made me realise that, like, bro, there's no time to mess up, you know. There's no time to mess up at all. Like, you can't. When Issa was talking last week, that these men, you know, they go on their nights out and they're doing the most, you know. It's, and there's no time for that at all, because I won't forget that. If you mess up on a night out, my head's like a vault. I'm not going to forget that that you did that 10 years from now. That this is how you're behaving. I'm still gonna think that. Maybe I'll give you the benefit of that. But I'm gonna remember that sort of thing is just gonna stick. That you were doing that here. How you're gonna be when it comes to managing a team, you know, because who you hire is a reflection of you. And also, when recommending people, I'm also quite cautious. Could I work with this person? As I said, this is a reflection of you. We bring someone into the company because we like to do that based on recommendations. Could you work with this person? Bring him in. But sometimes you just have to be so careful.
Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's fair that that's how it works? And obviously we know, you know, life is life. It's not about what's fair. But do you think that's an appropriate system?
That's a good question, man.
I don't think
I think it is.
I think it is.
I think it depends on who's at the top. Because I've seen, you know how like there's this, you know, like, for example, when it comes to the workplace, I think there's a lot of white girl privilege which exists. But I feel like as I've gotten older, what I'm seeing is almost like a reversal of that. Or I'm seeing people, like, you know what you said about, you know, doing this on a night out type of thing. And I think it often depends on who's at the top. I've seen people do things that probably maybe 5-10 years ago would have been fine to do, in terms of be a bit wild, be a bit nuts, dress a bit, you know, inappropriately, that type of thing. And because of who they were, they might have gotten away with it. But because of maybe, I don't know if this is a modern thing, maybe it's just my department or whatever, but the rise in appropriate professionalism, I've seen people fall by the wayside because of it. Whereas what I've kind of been told growing up is that, you know, people doing certain things, like what these people are doing, because of who they are, it's not going to affect them. And it's actually, I think obviously we criticize the system a lot, because, you know, I think it's good to point out the positives in the system, because I feel like at least in that way, I'm seeing fairness, which I think is the thing. For me, as long as the rules are the same for everybody, I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Because making it Islamic now, in terms of when the system is, so see what Issa was talking about yesterday, or last week. I feel like the system he described, almost, it could kind of place people like us in a possible disadvantage because we're not going to be in certain places where it may be advantageous to be. I'd say I couldn't really relate to it, and I was actually thinking, alhamdulillah, I can't relate to it because maybe in where I am, the setting I'm in, that's the type of thing that's not valued. And the type of, and those are the certain people that would have really excelled in those type of settings. You know, the night out setting, the going to the pub setting. It's not really happening anymore in my setting, and I think it's a good thing.
I think we need to combat that then. Like, what he said is true, but sometimes we need to be the change that we want to be. Like, okay, well, we can't be in those settings, so be on a committee.
100.
Where they're setting up these meetings, say, yo, I can't do this. Why can't we go to this place? Why can't we go to dinner? I did that. This wasn't something that I thought I'd ever do, bro. And it came to it, I was not interested in socials at all. Mainly because the people I was with, I was working in Essex, in Harlow. So the vibe there is they're all middle-aged, our parents' age, and they're all white, some are Asian. I couldn't relate. There was one other black person with me. And I felt a way to always walk around with him, because why they're making remarks, oh, there's trouble, you know, double trouble, all those sort of things there. So those sort of things stick. But when I came to my new place, I'm now working in London, innit? But this is that's the central hub where these men drink. But I had to let them know, yo, I don't do this. Can we do something else where? And there's a lot of Muslims in my workplace as well. I think that's a big difference with where you work sometimes as well.
100.
So be on a committee where they're organising nights out. Go to when I started my new job not my new job, where I was before Icon, I started in January. February we went on a night out. We went to because we'd moved to a new office. So they went to this place in Victoria where they were playing darts. They had pizza, there was Coke.
What type of Coke?
Yeah, so like these are the sort of things that you can bring forward. And they realise that, oh, okay, not everybody in our workplace is like that, so we need to make accommodations for them as well. At the previous workplace, I didn't have that at all. My manager, she was white and she was middle-aged. On her team, she had 2 blacks and an Asian, and we'd finished the project and we'd all done really well. So our senior director said, okay, you guys go out, it's on me. She picked somewhere, beef eater. I can't eat the beef there. My other colleague, she's Asian. I'm not sure what religion it is. She's a vegetarian. How are you not seeing that you've got 3 underlings under you that, you know, have you tried to consider what are their circumstances? And I had to let her know, like, yo, like, Vicky, like, this can't run. I can't eat this food, it's not halal. We thought of halabi. So okay, how about you pick somewhere then? And I did. So, you know, it's just sometimes
I pick AO5.
It was actually I just picked like a
sorry, love.
I picked like a Chinese joint where on the menu I looked at the menu first and there was different options that we could all eat. Sometimes I can understand what Issa's saying, but we need to be the change that we want to be.
100,
you know?
100.
I feel like knowing Issa, he might combat that and say just maybe that's just like the culture.
So deeply embedded. Because what he
I feel like that's not something he said.
What he described, I'd say, because that's what I go back to. Remember when I said having that professional backbone to what you're doing allows you to do certain things. Whereas when you're in a field where professionalism is not valued.
I feel like we're all speaking from our experiences, and there's other industries out there that operate completely differently that we can't speak
probably
to.
hear that.
It's like imagine you play for a football team. And imagine, like, I don't know, Mo Salah and Mane. You think they could tell them, let's not have a Christmas party. That's good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's
one thing I want to go back to that you mentioned about asking and basically hiring people off recommendations. I think on some level there is merit to it. I would say especially where I did my placement while I was in uni, as in like a kind of growing through that department, I could just see that the lady at the top, the woman that's basically the lead that is in charge of hiring people, I could definitely tell that she's hired people of a certain character that are definitely going to get on. So I could see that team there, they gelled very, very well, and they got on quite well, as opposed to other places that I've seen that maybe they have very good audiologists, but their personalities don't exactly match, so they clash a little bit.
You have to think about that when you're hiring,
So that was something that I really rated her for. That this you've selected people that you know are going to get on, and it makes such a big difference to the way the department runs. Yeah. So,
but it's about, for me, that's fine, that's all well and good, but it's about, you know me, I'm always about fairness. I'm about transparency. So like, let's say where I work, I work for obviously the NHS, where what, can I say this? Anyway, whatever, YOLO. I work for the NHS, and it's very much, when it comes to interviews and all that type of stuff, it's very much about score based, it's transparent. If you request your papers, you will see that whoever gets the highest score is who will hire. Like that's so it's about, you know, your score and your answer. Okay. That's what they sell, innit? That's what they sell. Yeah. Like, so alhamdulillah, my new kind of role, I've started being able to do interviews, innit? And it's really opened my eyes, innit?
Yeah, 100%.
Because firstly, what we accuse people of, we're probably all guilty or would be guilty of it, in terms of favouring people in it. So so let's say there was 5 candidates. One was Muslim, clearly Muslim, you know, Dijabi or whatever, and one was Nigerian. They were the best. Let me they were actually the best, didn't it? And I think they were the best, and they're the ones who are gonna get whatever job it is, I think. But like, as they were talking, I'm wanting them to do well in it. And that maybe we're all guilty of the same thing, but maybe, I don't know, you could say that our intention behind it or why we're doing it comes from a purer place. But what is like right is right, wrong is wrong, whatever in it. If we want to complain about the system, then you can't do the same thing. But some people say.
But with recommendations, you can recommend someone. That doesn't mean they're going to get the job. It's just
but this is what. But when you're scoring, because remember, we're scoring people based on like what's meant to be a consistent scoring.
Right.
Cool. And then but the thing that I wanted to point out was, this is meant to be a score-based thing, whatever. But at the end of it, it says, so there's different sites, isn't it? And there's different sites. And let's say one site, one of them is a very metropolitan area, very multicultural, diverse. Yeah. And a couple of them are in very just like kind of middle class white areas. Yeah. And at the very end of the kind of scoring sheet or whatever, it asks a question. It says, do you think this person is suitable for this working at this place? Do you think this person is suitable for working at this place? To me, those are very loaded questions. It's very simple questions, but to me, there's a lot. It's very loaded, and it's very clear what they mean when they're saying, "Do you think they're suited to working at this place?" And it's basically, you know, there's a reason why when you go to that, because I've seen all sites. There's a reason why when you go to a certain site, all the people look and talk a certain way, and when you go to some of the other sites, it's a lot more a certain way. But like things like that question that they feed into it, it means that you're gonna pump more of one into one and more of one into the, and for an organization that will claim that, you know, everything is transparent, consistency, completely score based, you know, Freedom of Information Act, request your papers, that's fine, come and collect it. But it's these little things that are quite, you know, I thought a bit not underhand, but it's interesting, I'd say. It's interesting. Whether it's good or not, I don't know. It's a well-established system, and like you said, I think there's merit. I do think there's merit in making sure that, you know, the personality matches the place where you're trying to hire. And I think as long as that's made clear, I don't have a problem with it. My only issue is when you claim that it doesn't. Like, you know, it's just about what you say on the day. It's just about how you answer the question. It's just about your exam score, and then you didn't get the job. We just felt you weren't right, because that's what causes that resentment, and that's what. So I think I think a lot of things would be easy in life if people were just honest and said what it is, but they won't.
But that's how this country is, though. Like, there's a sort of like,
if you know, you know.
Yeah, if you know, you know. Let's not state the obvious, you know. Which, to be honest with you, I can't lie. I like it, you know.
Because we're switched on though.
Huh? You do? Yeah.
Yeah, I do as well.
I like it.
Because it suits me. Because the way I am,
it suits me as well.
The way I am, like, I've benefited. Like I would like, for example, in my department, being a local or be where I work, being local, having my type of personality, being a bit maybe outspoken, being a bit, having a bit of a personality, being a bit driven, and being a man, I won't lie to you as well, especially in a female, because it's female dominant, has helped me. I won't lie, it's helped me, because the trajectory, alhamdulillah, is been from where the standard path from where I've gone is actually high, and it's because of those. Obviously, if I don't put the application in, I've been rejected for things as well. But just doing it, being who I am, and having the determination to do certain things has enabled me to go a lot quicker than I should.
Are you saying, as opposed to just being blatantly honest and telling you that this is why you didn't get this, or this is why you didn't get that? Is that what you mean?
Like when I was sitting in an interview, for example, one of the people, I'll just be the black person, I would say that I thought she was the best candidate, for example. But the rest of the people, some of them anyway, it was very split. But the room was split, and the room was split simply because people couldn't really get what she was doing. So like, it's hard to say, obviously I don't want to bait out too much, but people couldn't really, some people in the room really were feeling her vibe and understood what she was trying to do, because the way she answered the questions was maybe it wasn't traditional. Whereas, the way I interpreted it was that she was showing like a competency and understanding beyond her level. Whereas other people understood it as, I don't think she really got what she was meant to be asked and what meant to do. Whereas maybe because I could relate, maybe that type of stuff, maybe I understood it and was able to say, no, this is the best. This person is beyond their station. Whereas some people would their brain just turned off to her, and it was or him
expecting a certain answer.
And it's like
she can't be where she believes she's and where Abdul, and that all just comes back to.
And I know I've been a victim of that same thing. I think as well I can relate as well in my life.
It just all just comes back to childhood, just how you're raised, I think what do you man think about this country?
I think this country is atrocious.
You think so?
I think it's designed for. There's people that will win in this country. There's people that will benefit from this system. But overall, this system is horrible. It's bad and.
You don't think we're winning?
No, that's the thing. I think I'm somebody who could benefit from the crap of this country, but that doesn't make it right in general. Overall, like that doesn't mean the system's not broken, because there's a lot of people that will fall by the wayside because of, for example, people that are being good at your job and wanting to go home, and not wanting to socialize. In a lot of spheres, in some it's a problem, but in a lot of spheres shouldn't be a problem. But it's essentially a problem almost everywhere, because the fact that being a good team player, getting on with the team, blah blah blah. The reason that's so important, I think, in a lot of businesses is because the people in this country, a lot of the time, all their value and all their life is in their job. So if everything in my life is this job, but you come here and you just do your job and you go home, it's almost as if you're disrespecting my plate, because they have such ownership, especially for want of a better term, you're just an employee people. Like, it shouldn't burn them so much, but the reason it does is because everything they have, they leave it here. In terms of their emotional investment, their happiness is all in this place. Their importance, their value, all comes from what they do between 9 and 5. So they go home and there's nothing else. It's Emidel, Corey, and Bangers and Mash, and they go.
I used to think like that as well. Like, I think us, man, being that first generation, we're in a bit of a conundrum. The fact that we were born and raised here, this is all we know. But then, if we were to go back to Nigeria, what do we really understand about there as well? The minute we open our mouths, that tube of yam that was 500 naira, all of a sudden is 2,000. Certain things that if we were to lose our job in this country, we can walk into a job centre and sign on. If we were to go back home, I don't even think there's even such thing, as that sort of thing. So I think we're always a bit stuck, and sometimes even here, like with how things are. Do you ever get the feeling like, for example, with Brexit and how that all played out? Do you ever get the feeling like, boy, like
any minute.
That's your boy. I didn't vote for him, you know. You man are doing whatever, but when you actually, I think that's something that we just do to tell ourselves that, no, that's not our problem, but it actually is our problem, you know. This is our country. We're born and raised here. A lot of it is what we know. But in terms of what you said, I do completely agree. But I do think that we are quite fortunate as well in the fact that, as you said, you've moved through the social gaze quite quickly. Our parents came in 20 years ago. We're doing better than some white children that have been here their whole lives, you know. So, I do see what you're saying, but I do think that my mind is sort of changing in this country. I do want to explore other places, like what Issa was saying last week as well. But even that, like the fact that we feel like we can just get up and go.
To be fair, to be fair, you're right. I think what I'd say is, when I say this country is atrocious, it's true. You've made me review the answer. If I look at America, but especially America, that's the worst one. Then this country is fantastic. Yeah. Because what I would say about this country is, for as much as we may be at a disadvantage, there's nothing much that is insurmountable for anybody in this country. I'd say. So there's nothing much. The barriers aren't such that if you really, really go for it. Yeah. Because generally there is a consistent most things are regulated in a way which is very difficult to, you know. That's why, like, you know, when people complain about certain things, some people say, I don't know, like, I don't want to conflate two issues, but gender pay gap in the NHS. I'm like, no, like it's not a thing, because it's so impossible for it to for the systems in place are so rigid that as long as it's almost like if you follow the recipe, you follow the steps, there's nothing much that can stop you from if you go to school, we all do the same exam. You know, in America, it's not like we all do the same exam, the same exam paper at the same time on the same day, and then we goes to our names is not there. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. That yes, fair enough. We might go to the university interview, but a lot of the time it's like there's not many checkpoints where. Well, there are a few, but there's not many checkpoints where if you do what you need to do, you're gonna fall over. Yeah.
Trust me.
Whereas in other places, it's
like, bro, I woke up one morning, threw my toys at the pram and said, I don't want to be a pharmacist anymore. And I did what I needed to do to get to where I am now. You know, like, I don't know a lot of places where you can do stuff like that. You know, where you can just sort of move through the gears quickly. Yeah. You know, and a lot of it is just that drive that sort of our parents gave us, you know. Some people don't even understand that, you know. So I think even though it is peak, it is nowhere near as bad. Bro, look at our neighbours, France. You know, you see what they're going through right now. Yeah. You know, with how Muslims are being treated, you know. Even though it's peak here, I don't think that can happen here, you know.
No, I think not to that level. Not to that level.
And also, the person who's...
Inshallah, anyway. So.
The person who's opposite Macron right now, her name is Le Pen. She is a fascist in all but name.
Yeah, she's worse.
Bro, she is the Nigel Farage of France. Her party is called the National Front, or she's renamed it now. But she is a step away from the French Premiership, and that's who people like Boris Johnson is going to shake hands with if she was to win. You can't. I actually think that's impossible in this country, you know, to have that sort of character. Imagine Nigel Farage becoming a step away from the pack. I think we're too bigoted and too entrenched in society. In society for an outsider like that to come in and shake things
Is this big city bias though? Is this only looking at it from being in London, Birmingham, Manchester? Are we forgetting that, you know, these people could come? They'll go to Middlesbrough and Shropshire, and they'll be getting clapped in the.
Yeah, but how does that affect us though?
Are we relied on to? Are we indispensable? Do you think black people, and I guess you could say Asian people, some people, Asian people, do you think we're indispensable, or Africans and Asians, do you think we're indispensable in this country?
No, we're not. They need us.
As long as we are indispensable. They can't get rid of us without them suffering heavily.
Okay, 100%. Yeah, it's happening right now. Look at the HIV crisis.
Exactly. Do you know what I heard yesterday? I heard that the government is considering employing inmates.
Yeah.
to behave.
I saw the video. Did you see the
Morally
video?
ambiguous
Did you see the video?
reprehensible.
Yeah,
There was that one where it was like, wait for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who they're turning to. I think this country's going through an identity crisis, and that we should leave them to do that. Once they come to the realization that they're not who they are, who they thought they are, but they do need people like us. English people, in my opinion, I don't think they want to go to school anymore. I don't think they want to go to school anymore, bro. Like,
That's such a big statement.
like,
English people, they don't want to go to school.
I'm not sure. My team, for example, where I work now, I've just started the job. It's so mixed. There's 2 Africans, two are French, one's Asian.
Yeah.
You know, like these are the people I'm surrounded with now as well.
The professionals are.
The professionals, yeah.
But once again, is this just because we're in London? Because if you go to the hospital in Sheffield,
Yeah.
I'm sure like every doctor's white, every nurse is white, every dentist is white, do you know what I mean? So is it because we're so concentrated in certain areas?
To be honest with you, you know, the social mobility is concentrated. It is the best in the south, the London and the south. So maybe you're right, but a lot of people moving out now.
Oh yeah, we're getting driven out. Everybody's
Yeah,
getting driven
yeah,
out.
like,
It's becoming
you know,
an elitist.
I live where I live. You know, a lot. You talk before we started. We talked about Coventry and Birmingham. You
Yeah.
know, I was in Manchester 2 weeks ago. That's very diverse. So I think, and bro, we need to understand. It's only been for us. It's only been 20 years. It's only been 20 years. You know, once our children, we start having children, they start having children. I think they will start to realize that the world is a oyster. Let's go somewhere else and let's make something here. But,
do you have ambitions or plans to go to a country that's a bit more Islamically friendly? And what do you think the state of? Oh, that's 2 questions. And what do you think life will be like for practicing Muslim, practicing professional Muslim, who's trying to be practicing professional Muslim in 10 years? Do you think it will get better or worse?
I think it's going to be what we make it. I think when you guys asked me to come and record, it just my brain's a bit of a jungle gym, innit? Like, but I just went back to how the masjid was and how that was. I don't know whether our parents building that back masjid and making that a hub was genius or just something that they know that just comes naturally to them, that we need our own community, you know. But you know when like. You know when it's sunnah for you to teach your child Surah Al-Fatiha, so you know every time he says that you get blessings, you know. Yeah. I feel like there's blessings that our parents are getting from just building that masjid. Like there's relationships that's being forged.
Hundreds.
Yeah. So
that's why it needs to come back. That's why I was saying
it has to come back. It's actually imperative that it comes back. Like there's too much has come from it for it to just fall by the wayside. So I think what we make of it will determine how we're able to practice. I think we're doing very well so far. We're able to work with the local community. That place doesn't get built unless we've got ties with the local government and sort of stuff. Yeah. So, and then from there we can build leaders, and then they can go out and then spread the word of Islam in different places as well. Now, your first question about practice Islam in another country. I don't know what other countries have shown us that will make it attractive for us to go and practice there. Like,
no, I mean Muslim country. I meant do like ambitions to go to a country, so somewhere that Islam is entrenched in society. So obviously your obvious Muslim countries, then
like Saudi and
but even forget that, even just like even Nigeria, because
it's not though.
Not every part of Nigeria, but I guess maybe the north of Nigeria, Turkey, Morocco.
Oh, it's not.
And West Africa, if you think of...
It's not.
Bro, you see, it's like...
Tanzania, those type of places, like the Muslim West African countries, where...
These countries have Islam in it, yeah, but it's not Sharia law. If you're Muslim, we know you, in it. It's almost like cultural. Okay. The way they practice out there, you know. Yeah. It's not... Like, we probably do it quite well here.
But what I mean by that is that if you wanted to go and, build a completely... Islam friendly life, it's a lot. You're empowered to do it a lot more in certain places, like your West African countries that are Muslim. Nigeria, most parts of Nigeria, your Muslim countries.
Yeah, because there's it's not like as many rules in place. Is that what you mean?
There's certain things in this country that in Western countries that are literally opposed to living, your standard Muslim life. For the fact that even just the fact that something like being able to go and pray 5 times a day or 3 times a day at work while you're at work, it's something that is not a normal practice to do. That doesn't go off in the street. Things that the food that you're going to be served as as standard is not going to be something that you can eat. The way that for example, the Muslim and women, the way that the men and women, the way that
interactions,
it's all, it doesn't naturally lend itself to. Whereas in other places, it will naturally lend itself to kind of Islamic.
From that point of view, that can always be an attractive quality to reason to go and live there in those sort of countries. Obviously, we know that we must pray 5 times a day, but for me, like that's not a reason for me to go and live in one of these Middle Eastern countries. We need to understand that people go there, bruv, man are coming back, people coming back to this country. How many people do you know that move to the Middle East, and for whatever reason, sometimes it doesn't work, but there's something that always brings them back here, People go out to the Middle East. I'm not even sure what rights how do you become a Saudi, how do you become an Arab national?
You can't now. It's very difficult to become a citizen,
but here, it's difficult, but you can do it, that you can do it. But this is where, obviously, we're all Muslims, but people that's where they're rushing to and thinking that, oh, let's all go there. But what are your rights, though? You've got a contract. They can just rip it up. Like, what's it even worth? But here, you can actually build a life for yourself here. You can become, whether you actually believe you're that person, you are a British national. Your passport means something here, You can't become an Arab national when you move to the Middle East. I'm not sure even other countries even allow you to.
Yeah, it's true.
It changes with time based on the situation at the time. They might ease it, they might tighten it.
Just simple things of just like having, just like due diligence of having a way of doing things that exist in countries like the UK but might not exist in other countries that we don't know about. There's been something going around recently on social media about this guy that went to Dubai and they found CBD oil in his car.
25 years,
Just dashed him in prison, sent him to do 25 years. 25 years,
and
it's like, where's the law? Where's the due diligence behind it?
He signed something under duress, in Arabic,
and now he's in prison. Keep him there.
Keep him there. That.
I've seen the story.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, obviously, there's no, while we're able to practice Islam in this country, there's no Islamic. The majority opinion, we don't have to hijrah, we don't have to go. It's fine for us to be here. I think I feel like long term, let's say, and not even thinking about just us, I feel like when you're thinking about generationally, I think the long term aim, because if you want to secure, you want to secure your Jannah for yourself, you want to secure it for your kids, and if you're thinking
long term,
I cannot vouch for the fact that setting up all my roots in this country, I can't vouch for the souls of 8 generations. If I make the roots so deep that this country is where the Salawis, my lineage is tied to this country for 15 generations, I cannot vouch that by the time we get to generation 8, 9, 10, things are going to be higgy. Things are going to be higgy in terms of, like, I'm trying to practice, my kids in charge. But do you know what I mean? We can't vouch. Maybe it will even increase and they'll be the biggest scholars. We don't know. Inshallah, that's the case, but we don't know. It's more likely that something Islamically sound will develop generationally
in another country.
Because I think I can never accept I can never tell myself that in this country, or in this country, places like France, and I think we're seeing it, that it's gonna be Islamically favourable, or they're gonna favour Islam in terms of policy, in terms of natural.
It wouldn't surprise me if it does. I think not to take it to his go back too much in history, but reap what you sow in it, and for all the British have done, when people are trying to get to this country, that's not a coincidence. You know, everyone is trying to get here. There's other countries like this. They all want to come here. There are people coming from France to this country. There's a reason for that.
This country's a blank canvas, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's not much of a...
So it's going back to, it can be what we make it. It can't. I completely understand your argument. The fact that you can't account for people that come after you, and you know you're thinking long term. That's always the most important. But for what I'm seeing now, I can see a change coming, man. I can see a change coming.
Can you, like, countrywide, you can see a change coming?
That's the thing. I feel like
we all can't stay in the southeast. People are moving out already. We all can't stay here.
Do you think? Would you like? I feel like eventually there'll be a point. Yeah, there'll be a breaking point where, I get what you're saying. Where and you see this in history, where the bourgeois, the middle class, the higher end working class, when they get to a point where they have views which suit themselves. So, for example, if more black people, Asian people, you know, ethnic culture, whatever, especially Muslims, enter that class, and we start to, you know, our views start to become more prominent because what we want becomes more important to enact in life, then the working, you know, rural class, you know, the Middlesbrough, places like that, there'll be a point where either they are so alienated, and there will be a point where there's a clash, and something will happen.
It's happening now.
What way? It's happened. Brexit, and these are little battlegrounds, and as of now, I think when it really comes to it, I feel naturally this country will lean on the support or doing whatever favors those people. For now. Yeah. I don't know if that will change, but for now, with things like Brexit, that is the government bowing to the pressures of that side.
But it's not helping them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. That's the thing. Maybe as the more they realise and the more those people suffer for these things. Yeah. I don't know. I just think it would always be. I just always think it would never be a smart bet to bet on things going well for us.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
I feel like it's always the safe bet to bet. But maybe, it's, like you said, it's true. Yeah. Because how it is for how it is for our parents and how it is for us, like you said, the acceleration is mad.
Like we've created our own class just in the last 20 years. You know. Yeah. Some of the things that our parents had to. Do you think our parents came here knowing that the sort of racial, that discrimination they were going to face? They didn't come here. You know that fearlessness that they had, that such character that. Yeah. Sometimes I think that do we even have that?
100%.
You know the
100%.
The cat.
We
don't want to
step in the room and be yourself.
Trust me, your whole life and move somewhere else. Yeah.
Nothing in your pocket, just come in. Let's just go for it,
Yeah.
I think about it so much, and obviously the fact that I'm an adult now, I have a child, and thinking that the character that you had to do something like that, you came into a new country.
It's incredible, man.
You stayed with one your cousin's friend.
You did what you need to do to get. Yeah. The stories that mum used to tell us how she got her first place in this country, when I was in her arms, a man just broke the door open and said, "Yo, this is your place now. Someone comes, call me, I'll move you to somewhere else." Wow. And they built from there, to have what we have now, What struggles did we have? Our biggest struggle was, what subjects are you going to do at A-level?
Big one thing.
That was our biggest struggle. You come home.
Predicted grades.
Trust me, that's what we're worried about. We come home, there's lights, there's food in the fridge, the heating's on, We have every opportunity to do what we need to do. Yeah. So there's this.
When you really think about it, it's actually mad. That's why, I was at I had a friend who's had a bereavement in their families, so somebody quite young, probably about your age. Okay. And one of my boys, and this person was he's funny enough, pharmacist as well. Yeah. And but he was one of the inspirational people in my life, even though I only met him a couple of times. Yeah. But just the fact that he was a pharmacist, but he, was into his investments and things like that. And he'd become a bit of almost like a financial advisor. Was growing his social media presence, becoming quite a big thing. Yeah. And I remember my boy when he was giving a little tribute. He was saying how his brother, the thing that he taught him most was that success is important, and it's very important, but it means nothing, absolutely nothing, unless you bring those you love and everybody with you. And being great, literally, it means nothing, like I said, without bringing people with you. And as people that are kind of like left behind, it's important to honor the memory. And obviously, alhamdulillah, in most cases, our parents are still here.
Yeah.
So like, but the only way we can really honor our parents, is to literally go and do a madness, because there's no excuse.
Trust me, yeah.
Because the least that will happen, like you said, is that we fall over and we're in the job centre.
Yeah.
That's the worst that will happen.
Trust me, yeah.
As long as we don't start taking drugs, we're not mad. We won't be on the streets.
Yeah.
Inshallah. That will happen. So why not take risks? Go and
try and do what you
go and do the most.
Mum and dad used to say all the time, like, just when, how many times does you want to do this? Okay, just go for it.
Yeah.
That's what my dad always says. Just go for it. Like, what's the worst that can happen?
You fall, and then you get up again.
Trust me, and that's the attitude he's always
There's
had.
people that go to the country. If they fall, they're in the British Channel drowning.
Facts.
That is real. That's real going for it.
That's what it is.
That's a real risk.
We have no excuses, but
yeah, man, I love all our parents, man.
I mean, it's just debts that we can never pay.
Fam, you cannot. All you can do is just try to honor it.
Yeah.
Can't pay it back.
I was thinking about obviously when you have children and the sort of lessons that you always think that is there a manual that you can use, and I always think that I don't think there is. Obviously, you have the way your parents raised you, what they did well, you do it as well. The things that they didn't do well, make a little adjustments, and try your best to follow the Quran and the Sunnah. But it's just things that I think about now that Dad used to do, like, yeah, go and buy that for me. It's over there. He's not going to tell you how to get there. Just find your way. This is the money. Bring back this. I know how much it costs. Bring back the change. And you just have to find your way. And do what you need to do. When you want to drive somewhere, when I was learning to drive, there wasn't really TomTom wasn't really a thing. You literally have to follow the maps. The average 18-year-old now, just downloads Google Maps on his phone and gets where he needs to get to. But these little things are the things that they really are character building. That you need to. I hope I can pass on to my children, inshallah.
You wanted to get into kids?
Yeah, it was a little bit.
We sort of started, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you got news?
Me.
What a way to announce it on the podcast. He tells his family he's telling them all about.
We'll talk.
I ain't got no news, bro. I ain't got any news. To be honest, there was something else I wanted to ask you as well that can kind of tie into parenting as well. But what made you, I guess, kind of make the conscious decision and want to move out of London? Because even now, when you kind of talk to them about moving out of London and even where you live, it's only an hour away. They think it's too far.
The only thing that's a bit of a cheat code is the fact that, fair enough, you're quite very far, but in terms of from your base, you're not that far from your base. Yeah. It's just that your base is far from everybody else's base.
It's not. How long did it take us to get here?
We're in Dover, bro. This is Calais, bro.
It took me 45 minutes to get here from my house.
Damn, it cost 40 minutes to get here from South.
Yeah, 45 minutes from Paris to Calais, innit? You went that far, man.
For me, again, just comes back to, I think when you get to certain stages, things that your parents say to you just sorts of resonate a bit harder and a bit more clearer. Our parents coming here from Nigeria, we almost we owe it to ourselves to see what's out there. I went to Brighton, innit, and the reason I went to Brighton is because I didn't want to be too far from home, but I still wanted to just see somewhere else I didn't know my whole life.
Did you live there?
Yeah, I lived there. Yeah,
oh, cool.
I was there for 5 years. So I got to see, even though it's still the southeast, I still got to see, just meet different types of people. Colchester, what was the reason? It wasn't anything to. It wasn't like a real reason. It was away from London. The house prices were reasonable. And then when I eventually wanted to start a family, I know schools in that sort of area can be a bit better. than what we can have here. You know, they've got a few private schools, and the schools they've got there, or the state schools, they're good as well. And just see another part of the country, man. You know, it wasn't anything too. We looked at places before we moved to Colchester. I think we looked at there's a place called Housestead. We looked at that, but that was too white, innit? That was too much for us.
That's what I was gonna say next.
Yeah. But, even when we moved there in 2018, Colchester, yeah, it was very white back then. We went to a Sainsbury's, and you know, when you go to the local areas, you can sort of see what it's a reflection of what the area is like, and it was very white. Well, going there now, it's still white, but bro, our people are dotted about, you know. Yeah, Asians are there. Even my daughter's nursery class, she's got Asians in there. She's got four other black kids. You know, so people are coming out.
Yeah,
as I said, I think we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to ourselves to see somewhere else.
Yeah.
We're in London because of our parents.
Yeah.
Don't just, in my opinion, you're here because what can you do? What mark can you make somewhere else? You know,
yeah.
I've got a local masjid there as well. I did Eid in the park. I actually didn't. I did that. When was Eid? Eid was it May or April?
I can never remember.
Eid was May.
It was May, isn't it?
Yeah, May.
May and July, or May and
August?
May.
It was May.
Wait till my Ramadan Eid.
Yeah, Ramadan Eid. Yeah.
It was May.
I was actually surprised by how many black people were in that park. I was very surprised by it. They're rebuilding their masjid as well.
Who isn't, bro?
Asians. It's one of my Asians, isn't it? They move they move very quickly, because when I used to go there at first, it was quite small, quite dingy, and now they've added another 2 more floors to it.
Oh my God.
Thinking like, maybe that's something we need to discuss as well, like how these men are able to just move so quickly and do what they need to do. You know, it's quite inspirational.
Old money, innit?
You know, but that's there. Masjid is there. I've got halal choices of halal shops as well if I want to buy stuff just quickly. But I usually come to London to buy sort of bulk shopping.
To buy a shaki and your stuff.
All stuff, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, but yeah, it wasn't anything too technical. It was just see what else is out here. You know.
I think that was what you were talking about. Owing it to ourselves to see what's out there. I think us being the way our parents raised us as well, I think we were quite fortunate. We travelled quite a bit.
Yeah, we did.
As kids as well, so that played quite a big impact.
Yeah, on just doing anything, just going anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, we got to see. Traveling really, if you have the opportunity, it really does shape.
It's important.
It's so important. It really does. If you have the opportunity to do it, it really does shape your
even
your
within the
philosophy.
country.
Even within the country, trust me.
Because there's so much diversity within
this country
British
as well,
culture that, to be fair,
100%. So, yeah, if you have the opportunity to do it, I would fully recommend it. And just start locally and then go out from there. I was able to see. I went to Croatia in the summer, and just how they are, like the rat race that we're in here. You know, we must do this now, and this next thing there. Like, them man are just, it's chilled out, man. It's just.
You always think that the way that you live is the right and only and best way to live.
It's not the case. Like,
there's so many ways.
These men are they're just fine. That we're trying to get to that place there. These men are walking at so slow. 15 minutes.
You'll be getting frustrated with them.
Exactly.
Like they're weirdos. And they're looking at you like, what's wrong with this person?
Why is this person rushing
Take
for
it
you?
easy. Yeah.
It's just, you just need to just realize that not everybody does things the way you want to do it. Your way is not always the right way. But that comes from our sort of, and we've got it as well. The privilege that we have, that thinking that, yeah, we're from here, you know, we think we can just go anywhere and do what we need to do, or do what we want.
We were talking about it the other
it's
day
not the case at all. Like,
English people going to other countries and being annoyed at them for not being able to speak English.
Yeah.
And you're in their country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. It's when you do take time to reflect and just sit down with your thoughts sometimes. It's amazing the things that you can reflect on and see how people's way of lives, they're doing what they need to do. You know, they're getting by. They have the same 24 hours as we do. So maybe take a leaf out of their book and see how they like to do things, and apply it. You know, I always come back to the fact that when I was there, we are so fortunate in this country. Sometimes there's just no excuses that with some of the arguments that we make for ourselves, like, oh, this isn't happening because of this. I don't. If it's our parents' generation, I can completely understand it. You know, they faced a lot. You know, you know, no blacks, no dogs, no Irish on the shop, on the shop for when you're going to go and buy milk. The National Front here, there. Does Cam even know what any of that stuff is? You know, it's only 20 years later.
Yeah.
When you look at, like, you know, social media, what's the latest, you know, beef? What's the latest argument on the timeline? That type of thing. Yeah. It's so trivial compared to, like, the actual issues that people are facing in other places.
Yeah.
And it just indicates how pampered we are, because we have time to be arguing about nonsense and arguing about who has to pay on the first date. You know, these things like that no, but you know, these are the kind of discussions
that crops up every couple of weeks.
Things, something like that.
They can't get enough of that.
Yeah.
They can't get enough of it.
How much this restaurant that none of us are going to costs, and everyone's getting upset. Things like that is like, if you really and these same people that are doing this will say that, like, we're disadvantaged. Yeah, like, it's hard. It's hard for us, and it's like, but, like, you have time to be looking at a receipt and doing it. Like, that means that, like, things can't be that bad.
I don't admit that this country doesn't have problems. It does. It has significant problems. You know, as I said, as we sort of agreed on it has an identity crisis at the moment. But I think even within black people, the issues, all our issues are not the same. Black Africans, we do not have the struggles of Caribbeans. Yeah. We haven't been here since the 50s. We are not Windrush generation. So for us to sort of talk on their issues, why are we talking on it for? We came here 20, 30 years ago. Our parents came here to study first. Some of them stayed, some of them went back. You know, our parents came here. They said there was a coin that did you guys see that report a few months ago where some Dr. Tony Sowell wrote about the title was about something that England should no longer consider themselves a racist country. Remember that story?
Yeah.
You know, and it caused outrage.
Yeah.
I actually read that report, you know.
I didn't hear about that.
You didn't hear about it? When you get a chance. It took me about 3 months to read it. It was a long report, but it actually makes sense what he was saying.
Is he black?
Yes, he's black and he's Caribbean.
Caribbean black. Who is he? What's he? Law? What's his background?
He's an education consultant to the government, innit?
Okay.
So after George Floyd, the government asked him to draw up a report on racial disparities, and he focused on education, policing, health, and socioeconomic background.
Yeah.
And the headline that the Guardian and all these papers or all these publications wrote was the fact that Britain should no longer, and he said that, which I didn't agree with, Britain should no longer consider themselves a racist country, but something else. I can't remember how the rest of it finished, but the key findings in what he said were true. And one of them I said the opportunities.
Yeah. We
came here 20 years ago and our parents' mindset was immigrant optimism, schools free, education's free, healthcare's free. Fam, go get it. That's the attitude that our parents, you know, gave us. But the Windrush generation, the Caribbeans, they came here from the 50s. They came here to come fix the country, you know. They were asked to come from I think
to come and rebuild
after
the war, yeah.
So they've got their issues are ingrained, similar to African Americans in America. Yeah. Their two issues are quite similar. We shouldn't, even though we're black, we can't compare ourselves to them. But you find, as I said on the timeline, we find ourselves comparing ourselves to issues that African Americans are having. They don't even know who they are. They don't even know what country they're from. A few phone calls, we can find out where our village is in Nigeria, you know. They don't even know what country they're from. So how can we compare ourselves, you know? Our name, we know where it comes from. Your name, our name. Their name is Robinson, Carter, Jones, Smith. That's not your name, you know. So for us to be comparing ourselves to each other, it's so wrong. Our issues are not the same. They're similar, you know, but it's apples and oranges. It completely is. Their issues, as I said, the Caribbeans and African Americans have the same issues. There was also another part of the report that was quite interesting where people said that the issue is slavery, and that was also found to not it was a factor, but it wasn't significant, because what they found was that Caribbeans that went from the Caribbean to United States, for example, they actually occupied the middle class, similar to the way to the Asians, you know, they occupy middle class in this country, you know. So we can't say that slavery is a factor as well that's really affecting people and black people and why they're not thriving. So
I think I could be mad wrong here, but I'll say it. I feel like slavery is a thing that within black people, and like across the different, so like it's an intra-black issue, not issue, but it affects the discourse within us, and how we, and the lens we see things through. So I feel like slavery is a thing that I don't think white people think about slavery anymore. I think they've erased it from their head. I think it, and that could be a problem in some ways. Yeah. But I think it literally, like, the only time when slavery is an issue between black and white people, kind of, or based on my observations and based on just what I'm thinking about now, is when it's almost like we get annoyed or upset at the lack of attention to slavery from white people, rather than them doing something because of slavery, on the back of slavery. Do you get what I mean? I don't think white people generally see a black person, think slave, and see a black person, think, oh, your ancestor was slave. I don't think that's how they think.
I think
they've erased it from their heads, or they try to, because they try to dissociate themselves with it.
I think maybe some of them think that, oh, you're black, and then that comes with some of its connotations. Not that it's slavery, but I think it goes back to what we said in the beginning, where I think someone said it in one of our group chats, where, you know, the Germans, they acknowledged what Hitler did, you know, whereas this country, the empire,
it was them.
You know, when their understanding of the empire is the fact that this person ended it, you know, not the person, not all the nonsense they did before that, you know, they don't want to actually acknowledge what they've done.
So they don't have to give back the things they stole.
So they have to give back the things they stole. And also, I was listening to a lecture, oh my God, what's his name? He's mixed race, he's got dreads and glasses, he's a historian in this country. David something.
Black mixed race, is it?
Yeah, Dave Oyeliki.
David Oyeliki, is that the actor?
No, he's not. He's
I feel like I know what you're talking about. I can find it anyway. Carry on.
But he was saying that he spoke to somebody in this country, and the reason that they can't actually acknowledge all of what they've done, because it's going to cost them too much. In terms of when it comes to remuneration, you know, the remuneration and reparations, it's going to cost too much, so they can't do it, which is wrong. But you know, how much has it affected us? Has it affected you?
Slavery?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say so.
I don't think it's in terms of the black African second generation. Yeah. I don't think it's our. It's not something that's like if I think of my time, like let's say our generation. Yeah. When we scale back history, we think moments in life that have directly affected our, you know, where we are now. Yeah. When we live, like, this caused this. I don't think slavery is very high on the for us. Yeah. Black America, obviously, of course. Even Caribbean. I think Caribbeans maybe at the fact that when it came to them, when they were thinking, who do we call to come and fix our country? Maybe that was in the back of their head. That link is why, you know, there's such a big Caribbean influence in this country still, because of, you know, it's almost like we've been there before. Yeah, we can go, like, you know, it's like with devil you know type thing. Yeah, but for us,
doesn't really affect.
I liken us more to the Latvians and do you know what I mean, in terms of how our story of how we ended up. It's more like that, because we saw opportunity, and we, like you said, we saw opportunity and we came to take it.
But also, a lot of that has to come with another thing that came with that report, and also
David Olusoga.
That's who it was, Olusoga. That's who it was, A lot of there's a lot of a sort of, not a lot, but one factor that I remember hearing about affects black people was, and it sort of links back to what we were talking about earlier, is about parenting. Coming from a single household can drastically affect your outcomes in life. It's so important, the fact that you have to come from, not you have to, but even Islam says it's advised that it's two parents to raise a child, you know, and that those can affect how a child ends up in life. If you think about it just economically, like 2 incomes is always going to be better than one.
100%.
You know, when one parent is out working.
This country is designed for people with 2 incomes to thrive,
to do what you need to do. You know, if you think about it, when one parent is out working, one will look after the child. You know, if we've only got one parent, what's the child going to be doing? That's when he's outside. If you haven't got his attention, somebody else will get it. You know.
Yeah.
This is just to piggyback off that, and it's a slight tangent. Obviously, time is, well, to be fair, you know, can go as long as you want in it. Right. The I can't remember what I was listening to, but what it was anyway, it was talking about the institution. Oh yeah, it's just a YouTube video. The institution of marriage and the devaluation of it in modern society is part of what's going to make children finished in this country.
100%.
Because and what the reason is because when you have the growth in, you know, LGBTQ, that whole movement, that movement. I mean, I could touch on the Dave Chappelle thing as well. The growth of that, you know, movement.
Yeah.
There's certain things that if you're going to really truly embrace LGBTQ plus or whatever, you're really going to embrace it and really bring it to the forefront and highlight it and uphold it. There's certain things that just have to be marginalized as a result of it. One of those is the nuclear family. The nuclear family, you cannot hold up the nuclear family and hold up LGBTQ at the same time. You can't do that. So one of them must fall, and because of the rise in that movement, the nuclear family must fall. Masculinism and feminism at their core, like, you know, that feature, that core man is like this and has these characteristics and is responsible for this, and woman is that will be destroyed as well with the growth of LGBTQ plus and what else, and free speech as well. To be fair, in a lot of ways, free speech is already dying. It's already selected free speech. So and in this country, it's so mad because, like you said, having a strong family core background is so vital to having a good upbringing, to having the fact that you have, you know, a parent, somebody who's literally invested, who you came from, you're part of them, always being, as much as they can, physically with you, around you. Then that you're not, you know, not that there's anything wrong with nurseries and that type of thing, but that you're not with a group of other kids, with somebody who's paid to look after you. The fact that the values of that, fact that you're around, because the thing about children, they pick up values and and concept and morality, they pick it up, but a lot, and through what you teach them, but a lot of it is just through observation, what they're seeing you do, how they're seeing you act. What if someone says a word on the TV, your reaction to it, that will teach them how to react to it. Not that not what you tell them is okay. That all those type of things, are what kind of shape people. 100%. So when you're creating a society where that is completely that is nonsense, where, you know, there's no concept of an accepted normality or an accepted righteousness. There's no that means moral code. I'm sure in 10, 15 or 20 years this generation has grown up with this. The school shooters, the mass murderers, the rape. I feel like the it's going to be all over the place because you're creating a society where essentially no one's allowed to tell you. There's no line. There's no line about what's right. No, there's no line in the sand.
I remember actually watching something. There was a program I was watching. There's this guy, and he's gay, but he wants a family, and he doesn't have a partner. So he's been meeting with I think he's been meeting like surrogates because he wants to adopt a child. And he was kind of talking to his family about this decision to be a single parent. He's got 2 parents, and they're kind of telling him that fair enough, you want a family. Number one, it might be better to have someone with you that you can parent this child with, not just you alone. And they're also telling him that men and women, like have innate qualities that make that gives a child that balance. That women are more nurturing and more caring, and this is why children need mothers. And his response.
Oh no, go on.
His response to his mum telling him that is, and you don't think I can provide all of those things for my child.
So that's and do you know what annoys me? Religion. We know what religion says. I don't need to. The marriage, man and woman under the eyes of God. You know. So even if you're park religion to the side, even if you're Charles Darwin, there's based on Charles Darwin. The way things are because that is what is best for humanity to survive. Do you know what I mean? That the reason why we are the way we are, that men and women's emotion, the hormones, physicality, everything runs the way it is, is because it's what's best.
When you don't know all of that, when you don't have the religion, when you don't know the science, it's just vibes.
So what exactly?
That's
vibes. Yeah, just vibes. So there's no basis to challenge it. There's a humanity. Do you know, like, before, and I'm going to bring religion back, before religion, do you know what humanity was doing? Okay, living in, or if you're going based on the science anyway, we've got caves, no structure. What did religion do for the world? It gave people structure.
Trust me.
So if I'm taking, because I don't even want to start polluting people's minds with any kind of non-Islamic type of structure or ideal of what the world was like. So let's go Islamically. I think I mentioned it maybe a couple of weeks ago. Let's look at Arabia before Islam. Gambling, raping, burying your daughters, all types of mad you're on this after you've got this caravan, I'm gonna take it and I'll give it back to you, but you have to pay me double. And if you don't do it this, you have to pay me triple. It was, wild west, lawless. No, families hated each other because of the fact that they knew that if dad goes outside and he drinks too much and he owes the bartender, he can give me to the bartender because so family, there was no structure. Everybody hated each other even within their families. And what did religion provide to that? What did Islam provide? Structure, a role, a common goal, delayed gratification, all these things that are in terms of delayed gratification, that do something now for the fact that you're going to go into Jannah in the future. All these things are what humans need to be able to function in a functional society. If you take all of that away, finesto, presto, and this is where we're going.
This is what I think it kind of plays. It does play into what you were talking about like kind of the nuclear family just decreasing in kind of like power. I guess that type of thing when it was society-wide, so everyone in society was of a religion, so everyone behaves according to that religion, and anyone that falls out of it, the community knows about that kind of person. So like, for example, let's just take marriage for example. If you're not married to this woman, you can't interact with her in a certain way. She can't just go around sleeping around with men, and if she does, the community knows her as them. As religion has kind of taken a back seat for the non-believers in nowadays, those kind of little avenues that you can't go down if you don't have certain relations to a woman, they decrease in value. So like for example, society today, maybe less society in this country, isn't geared towards Islam, so it's free fall basically. You can do whatever you want with any woman because there's no kind of law or creed that says that you can't, which leads to other things which we won't go into. And then now kind of seeps into their family lives because there's no creed, there's no rule that says you can't live with a woman that you're not married to. You do all of those things, and the kafara will go the whole 9 yards, and they'll just decide to get married, not to get married, because it has no value to them. It adds no value anymore. In Islam, obviously, there are certain things that you cannot do with a woman unless you're married to her. When society doesn't have that rule, it cheapens it. There's no value to marriage anymore, so we can live together, we can have children, we can build our lives together. And what does marriage mean anymore? It doesn't mean anything.
Even, I think of going back to that example, the man and having wanting to have the child, and even just the right, children have rights, bro. If you ask, if I go to a school, any school in the country, I'm confident. I guess say, give me all your year 9s, so all your 13-year-olds. I'm going to ask all of you, would you be happy to be raised by one gay dude, basically, essentially, as opposed to having a mum and dad?
Yeah.
Unless 60% of them or 51% of them say yes, that man shouldn't be allowed to have a child.
Yeah.
Because it's not fair on any child.
Yeah.
Why should a child be subjected to that type of, when we know the fam? But because
his outcomes could potentially be decided,
Yeah.
before he's even born.
This child that can't say anything
Exactly.
is being doomed to this life.
Yeah.
Because of experiment. Because you didn't want to upset. Man,
because you want to see what you want to
and
do.
what's actually mad is a lot of the I can know that I know a lot. But when I think of like few gay people I know, like in terms of work and stuff, a lot of them that I can't even think of two, especially two of them will strongly disagree with all this stuff,
Really?
And that's why I don't think it's even. That's why I think the gay and the trans thing. I think that is homosexuals and transsexuals. I think there's actually a line. There's actually a clear.
They don't mess with each other. Yeah.
I don't even think yeah. Even like feminists and I think. I think it's important for us to, not that we should obviously be scholars in these issues, but we should understand the nuances, because a lot of the time the nuances between them, because you cheapen yourself and you devalue your opinion when you show too much ignorance in these things, if you want to speak on them. So if you want to speak, because I think what's important is that there's going to be a time, and it's coming now, where a lot of things are going to be thrust at you, especially when you're in a professional setting, in a work setting. Like, for example, they did all of this during Black History Month, and it annoyed me. Not that I even care about Black History Month, but they really are pushing the trans awareness thing in workplace at the same time as it's Black History Month, like during October, which. Anyway.
Yeah.
Like, the pronoun awareness, they and all of them and them and whatever. Yeah. So I should put them man in my address me as them man. Yeah. And we need to understand the differences so that when we're thrust in positions, because it could happen and it's going to happen more and more, where we have to draw our own line in the sand, and we may even have to justify our position or explain our position, then we do not sound like idiots, essentially, because as soon as you do that, what we don't want to do is make it so that, and this is what's happening, that black people, just because they're black, like they hate just because they just hate them. That's just what black people do. So I think it's important just to understand the differences, because I think there are differences.
I think there is starting to be a little bit of a pushback against this whole community.
Have you seen the Netflix stuff?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. I think there is a little.
I rate that guy.
Not just that white guy.
Dave Chappelle's funny. The jokes so funny.
There was that, and it was mostly centered around the whole Dave Chappelle thing. I don't know if you guys watched the special. I haven't actually watched all of it, but obviously there was a part where he was just kind of highlighting how much these guys contradict themselves. Yeah. There was that story about the rapper that was saying the stuff about.
So he got cancelled for being homophobic.
So he cancelled that for not being sensitive enough, and he was mentioning that, and he was like, this guy has been to prison for killing somebody.
No, I don't think he's been to prison.
Oh no, I don't think he went to
jail. He just the fact that
he killed somebody in a shot in a
and was allowed to have a career. Yeah. But you want to cancel him because he hurt somebody's feelings.
Because he said something
sensitive.
So
yeah.
And he didn't even obviously what he said, fair enough, it was, you could say
no one's condoning it. It was wild.
It was wild. But as it's not even that he's declared that he hates gay people, type thing. Yeah. Whereas he killed.
Yeah. And I think another part of that was that.
But do you know why that was significant though?
The
fact that he's killed someone.
Yeah.
What? Because he's black, isn't
black,
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think another part that he was mentioning about that that it's not that as well that these people are necessarily offended by what's been said. It's just the fact that they want to throw their privilege around and use it to get people down. Not that you're really burned by what this guy said. You might be offended, and again, we're not condoning ways. We're not saying that was wild, but at the same time, you just want to use it to just throw your privilege around and just take the moral high ground in it and use it against people.
So annoying.
Yeah. They're ready to be what they're minorities in it.
Professional victims.
They're ready to be white. You know, when it comes to things not working their way. You know, it was an interesting observation what he said, but America, that landscape, man, it's just
so wild.
Yeah, it's just so different, man. And it differs state to state as well. You know, maybe as you said, a lot of what my thoughts or what I've sort of developed over the years, it could be a London and South East sort of bias. You know, how I've been able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. You know, it may not be the case for people.
We do live in a bit of a bubble.
Do you know? I think the difference is though. What's a bit more dangerous for us is, in America, you're allowed to have any opinion you want, essentially.
Yeah.
And you can almost kind of, I guess their free speech is more free, for better or worse.
Yeah.
So you can kind of do what you want there.
Yeah.
Whereas in this country, what tends to happen is things get implemented in policy, which makes it very difficult. So for example, in America, say that guy, you know, the guy that they were saying, oh, Dave's just transphobic, blah blah blah. So there was a guy, and there's another group can come and they can say, nah, you know, I'm chatting rubbish. Yeah. Like, he's funny. All it is a joke. Get over it. In this country, those people could do that same protest, but the opposing people, if they went and did that opposing protest, they're all sacked. They've all lost their jobs. They're all finished. Yeah. So you have to be so careful. Once something is in some sort of policy, legislation in this country,
that's true,
to go against it or to speak against it, you have to tread on eggshell. If Wiley was in America, he'll be fine. Yeah, but in this country, finished.
And you know why that is? Because we don't have a constitution in this country. That is it. The Second Amendment to say what you want to say. You know, they have that. Whereas
we have fake free speech, selected free speech.
We don't have that here. We don't have that here at all. So
because as long as enough people cause an uproar saying that what you've done is offensive, then you have broken the law. But then there's no consistency or type of precedent about what constitutes something that's offensive. It just depends on how people feel at the time. So you can say whatever, like Pretty Patel is that can say whatever she wants, but the equivalent said about Asian, but that person will land that person in jail, fine what. And it's actually that is where that is the biggest issue. I'd say
that's why lumping our issues together. Us and Americans, bro. We need to stop doing that. We need to stop, our issues are not their issues. As I said, there's similarities. The way policing. Even if you want to compare something, policing. That's probably the closest. Or the way we were harassed. It's a rite of passage for us to be searched by the police growing up. But a lot of our issues that we've experienced in this country and what Americans go through, it's night and day. It's night and day, man. We're quite fortunate to be here.
Assalamualaikum. So we're back. So inshallah, something that we want to start doing moving forward on the podcast is we want to kind of serialize the Seerah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a way that is not us. It's not us kind of running you through the story, and it's not us kind of teaching you the benefits type of thing from the Seerah. But what we want to do is try to kind of walk through it and kind of just touch on certain points. And we'll link the videos that we're going to be doing and trying to relate it, because I think obviously going back on the podcast, we've been trying to in the last few weeks go back to our kind of roots and try to reestablish our original intentions, which were to bring Islam to those who may be Muslim or non-Muslim, have Islam in their hearts, but are it's maybe not apparent in their everyday life, or maybe Islam is there but they're not sure how it relates to them. So inshallah, we're gonna try to kind of relate this story or this this biography of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a way which is essentially just us kind of talking through points and how reflecting on points from it, maybe narrating bits from it, but just it's kind of in our own eyes, so our own reflections on the biography. We're going to be kind of using videos, and obviously another thing is we might not do this every week, inshallah. Eventually we'll finish it. It's not going to be every single, it's not going to be like the bites or something. It's every week. At a certain point in the podcast we're going to do it. It's going to try and be embedded, so if there's other benefit in the podcast, like maybe for our guests or whatever, we might not do it, but it's not something that's going to continue on long term, so don't expect it to be like a formal part. The videos we're going to be using, we're going to link down below. It's going to be the lecture series given by Ustadh AbdulRahman, Hassan, so those videos will be linked below. I'm sure they're easy to find. I think there's about 19 videos, so it's not like it's going to be 19 parts, but it's not going to be that structured in it, so we're just going to kind of go with it. Essentially, I've even touched on a lot of it today, but I think the point I wanted to kind of get across in this kind of introduction to it is the misconception that something like the Seerah, the story from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is something that is not relevant to us in this day and age. And the reason I say that is because you've already heard me say it in terms of what society looked like before prophethood, before the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The lawlessness, the kind of a lot of the cultures of the land and of the people are the kind of cultures that we see today. With the drinking, and the gambling. And when you look at so if I go a bit more specifically, gambling, the men would gamble their whole family due to the lack of the value, the exponential debt that people would get themselves in, the fact that boyfriends and girlfriends was like a normal part of society. There was no the concept of marriage kind of essentially fallen off, and the way that the people's mindsets were. So I guess one thing that I'd say is different from a lot of people, and probably not with the Muslims or the people that are probably listening to the podcast, are that the people in that time, their minds were a lot more open. And when the kind of scholars they talk and they say, like, why is it that Arabs are the ones who are chosen as the people to be the hosts for Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because there's this thing about is it because Allah loves the Arabs and He doesn't love? No, it's not. It's not that. But it's just the culture of the people at the time, and that is that the Arabs are very simple people. They're the type of people that they were very trustworthy. If you said I think they had there was a month they had. It's a good example to point it out. I forgot what it was called, but essentially in this month, I might put it on the screen. In this month, it's like a ceasefire. So we fight all the time, but in this every 6 months or the 6th month of the year or something like that, we will not kill you. You could have killed my wife yesterday, but if the clock strikes 12 and it's that month, I can walk past you knowing that Ridwan's not going to do anything to me because he has that honor that he's going to respect these values. And they're also the type of people that they're trustworthy. So if you came to them with a message, they will not automatically not trust you. Whereas if you at the time, the people like this country probably had likened it to like the Greeks or the Romans, whereas they thought we've got life sorted. We understand the philosophy type people. We've figured out everything. We know everything. There's nothing anyone can teach us.
Tell us,
So that is why the Africans maybe would have been more of the type of probably similar, and I guess North Africa Arab is African Arabs culture is quite similar. There's no Allahu Alam in it. There's no point trying to try and psychoanalyze Allah, because that doesn't make sense. So yeah, man. So like that those are the reasons, and that was the kind of the grounds and the soil at which Islam was kind of was planted and grew. So when you look at today and think, how can I relate that to my life? Think of all those things I mentioned, and think of the society, the life that you live, and think, is there anything I can take from the story? Another thing is, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like the difference. This is something that kind of hit me quite deeply. The when I think of Christianity and Islam, because obviously you would have heard if you listen to the podcast, both have been quite influential in my life. And when I think of why I'm a Muslim, I always think of I always go back to that Tawheed. I always think, if God is who we think of God is, then how can God not be perfect?
Yeah.
So how can God is not gonna God is not gonna make some of the mistakes that or go through the same struggles that maybe the Christians would say Jesus went through, who they would say is a God. And to me that just didn't align.
Yeah.
So but the second point that I didn't really think of, or I don't really think of like that, is the fact that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the reason what makes him the perfect and the best of role models and the best of examples is the fact that he's a human. The fact that in his story you see, he's a man who got divorced, he's a man who got angry, he's a man who got upset, he's a man who got tricked. But yet through all of that he was still the one that the enlightened one, and the one who was most able to guide. How can we follow somebody as an example on this earth, somebody who was a God? It doesn't mix, because the God is not gonna. I can't relate. Unfortunately, we can't relate to a God because we're human.
Yeah.
So and that's another point. I didn't really ever deep, but this is why I'd say in terms of the example and in terms of when we think of why Muslims find it more difficult to live in an accepted, generally find it more difficult to live in an accepted. What's the word? I think Muslims will generally, as a whole, struggle to live in a society which doesn't reflect what they should be doing. It's not something that we can naturally be comfortable with. Whereas I feel like there's almost an accepted lower of standards in other places. Yeah. And that's because of the fact that if you're chasing an impossible standard, what's the point? You give up.
That's yeah.
So that's there's a couple of reflection points I had. Obviously, we're going to talk about the background, the story of his parents, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam's parents, the and his grandparents, and other things later on. But just as a kind of baseline, in terms of why I'd encourage anybody to really look into, if you haven't already, the story of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those are just a couple of points I'd say, on top of what we've probably already said in this podcast lots of times. Yeah. So that's just a little intro to it. You can make that the bites if you want.
Yeah, probably will be.
Useless.
Yeah, it's definitely a good reminder. I mean, we spend a lot of our time researching and studying people that we like footballers and fictional characters, and these are the real role models that we should be looking to and that we should know everything about. Yeah. So, yeah, inshallah, I think it will be good that we can get into that, and something for our viewers to listen to us on. I hopefully encourage them to look into it as well. So yeah. Yeah, I think we're right there.
Do you guys think, sort of on raising children, do you guys think that when it comes to sort of, as a child gets to an age where they want to look for a spouse, do you know how, if a child comes from a good family, that sort of guarantees, or how it's supposed to be, that sort of guarantees that the child will be good, and she's from good stock, and she's a good fit for my potential, son or daughter. Do you think that still applies today?
Sure, you go first.
I think it. Are we talking about in general, or kind of like narrowing it down to kind of Nigerians, London, so our type of community?
General.
If I think wider, I'd say no, because of the fact that people nowadays, in general, and this is UK wide, national, internationally, generally are raised by the streets because of the fact that there's so much influence, there's so much coming from everywhere that people almost devise their own morality, their own code, their own set of values. I'd say narrowing it down to kind of the kind of what I'd say most of our listeners, the women or men that they would be interested in and what's relevant to them, I'd say that it is relevant because of the fact that when you have some sort of backing, and normally this will come from religion, when you have something, some sort of, you know, backbone, some sort of code, and when you have a family or something like that that adheres to that code and you've grown up with it, you always have something that you answer to, something that, and I think that is important because I'm not, even if you don't necessarily, I think the more people who obviously we have Allah who sees all, but the more people on this earth that if a person was doing the wrong thing and they were seen by these people, they would stop doing it, the better. The more likely they are to be
that community.
Yeah.
Just a community, isn't it? Just having a sort of having community to sort of answerable to, so to speak, you know. You know, we've come from here, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course we know that there's demerits to that, and obviously having someone where you hold on, where you know the family, obviously it's easier. Yeah. Because having that background, you know that this is they've come from a good place basically, and it's more likely that this person is going to be of good character. But then also on the other side of that, I think we're kind of in a place where us now growing up as adults, there is that disparity between our generations and our parents' generations, and we are now thinking a lot differently to how we were raised to think. I was saying, on the flip side of that, there is now kind of that bit of a disparity between the way we think and the way our parents think, and we are thinking a lot differently to the way that we were raised to think. So sometimes, if it's not in terms of like matters of the deen, some ideas can be a bit conflicting to the way that you think of your parents. Like, that's just for example, like careers. Like our parents are very strict in the way they want us to do professional things, and obviously being in the day and age that we live in now, we know that although having a university degree is good and it's desirable, it's not the be all and end all. So in cases like that, you can find people who might not necessarily come from a good bunch, but them individually are good people. So I'd say maybe a classic example of that is like a revert, for example. Like if you have a revert and the family's not Muslim.
I'm with you.
Yeah, you can't.
We're with you.
So I think it is important to go from, and obviously that will always be the easiest of cases if you know of a good family, and again, like I said before, more likely than not that person will be of good character. There are the odd ones.
Do you know what's almost more important, I'd say, nowadays? Not the family you comes from or he comes from, but how they interact with their family. The way how they see their family, how they value their family. Because if you could come from the worst family ever, even if you're somebody who comes from the worst family ever, but you love and should give them the rights as parents or whoever they are,
exactly.
And that is 10 times more valuable.
It's telling
what they are, because it shows even that the intrinsic, that they could, you know, that they could go beyond, that they could transcend whatever they come from, to still, you know, to be what they are, to have their code or whatever, and still give the due rights to the parents. I think that's 10 times more.
Yeah, I think the reason I asked that question is because I don't think that rule really applies anymore, unfortunate as it is. But as I said, when my parents raised me, some of the things that I said they didn't do as well, that I'm maybe I'm going to make some adjustments. I think what I want to do is actually teach, or if I have a son, teach him how to be a husband, teach him how to be a father, and ask my wife to teach my daughter how to be a wife, how to be a mother, you know. Where we really sat down and taught how to do that is just what we saw, you know. Some things that we do, some things that we see they do, I'll do that as well, because that's what my dad did, that's what I saw.
But I do think, going back, that, remember what I said about, you know, because if you think about why were we told to get married, and one of the things we're told to look for is the lineage and the family.
Yeah.
It's, I think what it's two things, a couple of things, is the like what I said about you absorbing information through being around your family.
Yeah.
And two, the fact that, especially as men, like, chances are, not always, but chances are, your child is going to be around that family a lot. Just especially, you know, I know being in a metropolitan type, you know, London type, is not always the case.
Yeah.
But generally, when you think of globally, generally the mother's family are going to be around your child, the husband, a lot.
Yeah.
So just by default, and going back to that whole, you know, learning and picking things up by diffusion, osmosis, or whatever, you want that family to be have certain values because they're gonna affect a child. So I guess that's the other way, because it's very, when you Londonize things, it changes. But it's a very specific example, which
I heard that. Maybe everything I've said today is the fact that I'm from the south and
the dirty south.
Yeah, I'm from just a lot of things are, but I guess you can only use yourself as an example, you know.
Yeah, of course. You have to apply take what you know and apply it how best.
So if I can do it, why can't you? You know, there's nothing special about me, you know. I just you went to a fantastic university, but your secondary school was one of the worst. You know,
it was.
You know, one of the worst in the borough, was even
south of the country.
Exactly. So there has to be something there. It can't be the fact that the teacher's racist, the teacher doesn't like me, you know, or this. It's always back to parenting. It always comes back to that. It always comes back to us going to the masjid on the weekend and interacting with the people you interact with, you know, with the brothers, you know, just seeing how they handle things, you know. It's so my opinions, and it's only recently that my opinions have actually really changed, not drastically, but I'm just sort of, my mind has been opened to just a different way of. And also, you're always learning as you grow up, you know. But it's been quite recently. It was almost like I used to combat it. I know I can do this, but I'm still thinking there's something else holding me back. But no, I've said I want to do something, and I did it, you know. Alhamdulillah. So
quickly, just, and this will be the final thing. In terms of teaching, because you kind of started it, but teaching how to be, I'm probably the one who interrupted you. Teaching your son how to be a father and a husband. Do you think teaching or parenting always has to be something active, like has to be, you know, son, sit down, let's talk, or is it a lot of the time through just letting them see you doing a job?
I think that might be the best way.
Some I think it just, Dad never once sat me down and say, you need to do this, you need to do that. But I'm a person who, I will always think first. I always watch first. I always analyze first before, when I take in information. I always think before I talk in it. I can't guarantee my son's going to be like that. So I may need to sit him down.
I was about to say the same thing.
I may need to sit him down and say, listen, you saw what I did last week. This is the reason why I did it. So it's entirely dependent on the subject in front of you, is what I think. You know, there are going to be some things that you hope they're going to pick up. But
like me, most of the lessons I've taken from my dad have come from him explaining to me why he's done something. That's how and when I think, like, if I was to say, you know, how did my dad affect me or teach me anything? It won't really be what he did or what he didn't do or what he said to me there. It was more just literally him rationalizing in his head, like out loud, why he did it, and it gave me that understanding of something. Because a lot of the time, the best thing you might do for your child, like the best thing one parent might have done for his child, no matter everything, is the fact that, you know, he took him to that sports club.
Trust me.
Or he took him to the mosque, or he sent him to that school, and that could be the thing that the parent does. That is the thing that the child will say, I'm forever grateful. This is how this is how my parents changed my life. Or and there's so many. How many times you see a child is down and say, you know, this is what you should, and that could be that could all count for
trust me,
nothing.
Yeah, all count for nothing. Yeah.
So it's yeah. So I don't know. So there's probably no. That's why
and
not being a parent as well obviously makes me. I struggle with this.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I think about all the time. As I said, my dad never he not once, but I'm always a person that watches, and it's the things that he didn't say is what I also take as well. Okay, I'll quote when maybe something happened, my mum spoke, but my dad didn't. But this person's almost powering you, so why didn't you speak? You know, why is it mum? Why is it the one? Why is it mum's the one speaking here? Those are sort of the interactions that I used to catch, you know. So it's yeah, as I said, it just depends. It depends entirely on the subjects in front of you, but
and the child, the parent. There's so many variables.
Yeah, so many variables. Yeah, but when it comes down to it, man, it's at the end of the day. I think prayers is so important as well. So much so. And when you think about where the masjid and the surrounding environment, it wasn't the most positive, you know.
It was ends like
it was deep in ends, you know. Serious rivalries, and we were always fine. We just want to go and play football. We don't even know who we're playing football with, you know. The area boys, anything can pop off at any time, you know. And our parents didn't know. As far as they're concerned, we're upstairs reading Arabic, reading Quran, you know. They have no idea that we're
nonsense we got up to.
The nonsense we got up to, you know.
Yeah.
So that's nothing but down to prayers, you know.
Yeah.
It's literally prayers. So
so it's what Allah wills.
Exactly.
Allah plans. People plan.
But Allah's the best of planners. Yeah, trust me. Yeah.
Cool. Oops.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it there. We'll see Jazakallah for coming on. Inshallah, and at some point we'll have you back on in the future. But yeah, socials, Jollof After Jummah on Instagram and YouTube, JJ_pod.
Someone said TikTok's coming soon.
Yeah.
Me and Ibs were talking in the car.
TikTok.
I said TikTok. It's not a bad idea because TikTok is massive. It's massive, but I just can't be bothered.
People are doing reminders and stuff on TikTok.
Yeah, it's huge, bro.
Oh, the TikTok's not
I'm sure Mufti Menk is probably on TikTok.
It's massive, but apparently it's like new Instagram, innit? It's massive, but I can't be bothered to learn how to use it. But I guess if you want to see us on TikTok, let me know and we'll see what we can do.
Right.
But yeah,
okay.
I can't be bothered. I don't want to be involved in it. I just feel like a young'un being on the app, innit? I don't. Yeah.
Just don't follow anyone in it. They get sucked in.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Don't make your own account. Just professional use only.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Cool.